level when you are.
It's the most active job. One of the most active jobs.
Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, February 21st regular meeting of the Novi Board of Education. I appreciate you all being here. Thanks. We have a great, exciting evening this evening lined up. So we're happy to see some faces in our audience of some fantastic people, and I would entertain a roll call. Mr.
Okay, Trustee Cook, I think, is coming late. Trustee Hood?
Here.
Trustee Mena is here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Roney?
Here.
Trustee Ruskin?
Here.
And Trustee Smith?
Here.
All right, we have Mr. Smith on the phone. He's traveling. So if you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I need approval of the agenda. I would entertain a motion. Oh, are there any changes to our agenda this evening?
There has been one request from the city of Novi that with the board's approval, they would like the right-of-way to be voted on this evening as well, so that they can take it up at their next board meeting or city council meeting and get the bids out on the street earlier than if we had to wait for our next board meeting. So that request is from the city. So at the time we discuss that, if somebody would like to make that motion, that would be the only change to the agenda.
Okay. All right, so I would request a motion to approve the agenda. Yes, Mrs. Hood?
I move that we approve the agenda as described by Dr. Matthews to add the voting.
We'll actually have to take a motion to move that up, but that's
Okay, then I move to accept the agenda as presented.
great. Thank you. Is there support?
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Hood and supported by Dr. Ruskin. We need a roll call vote, Mr. Mena.
Let's see. Trustee Hood?
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Roney?
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
All right, motion carries 6-0. Next, we have our student board member report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, and I would turn to our two students and ask them to introduce themselves and then to give their student board member report.
Hello, my name is Manish Shalini, and I'm an 8th grader at Novi Middle School.
Hi, my name is Pulkit Chaudhary, and I'm also an 8th grader at Novi Middle School. So, I'll just begin. We are excited to welcome parents for the class of 2025 to the middle school tonight. This evening, parents are receiving information about life at the middle school. Mr. Baker, Mr. Combe, and a few of the teachers are conducting mini sessions for parents to hear information about topics such as after-school and club activities, sports, anti-bullying program, restorative practices, elective courses, math curriculum, schedule planning, and etc.
From March 11th to the 15th, we will collaborate with the Novi High School and have a fundraiser for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We also will have a student-staff dodgeball game after school on March 15th. We will also be selling Wish Stars for $1. We hope to get 100% participation from all students. The 7th and 8th grade Academic 20 class that raises the most money will get an ice cream treat.
Our math club has been busy lately. The team took third at the Math Counts chapter competition. The event was held at Oakland University in Rochester. In addition, Shreya Srivastava qualified for the state competition as an individual. That will take place on March 9th.
We also invite you to stop by and see the really new cool mural in our cafeteria. It was paid for by the PTO. Pictures used were random shots taken by our hall monitor, Miss Jadoin. We have some awesome window decorations too. We invite you to stop in and check it out.
Several media technology students entered their videos into the MIPA, Michigan Interscholastic Press Association, individual contest. This is the first time that Novi Middle School's media tech students have entered into this contest, and they can't wait to hear how their projects did. We will keep you updated.
Novi Middle School also has 2 Science Olympiad teams that will be competing on March 2nd at Detroit Country Day School. We have been practicing since September and hope to have a team in the state competition. Science Olympiad is a student-funded team where students participate in 23 events at a tournament. The events focus on high school level physics, chemistry, biology and engineering, music, zoology, earth science, computer coding, and math.
Our next activity afternoon will have a game day theme. We will have a DJ, snacks, cornhole games, and board games. We are hoping for a large turnout with lots of students attending. And that's all we have.
Fantastic. Lots of great stuff going on at the middle school.
Yeah.
Right? Good things coming up. Thanks for being here and sharing that with us. The dodgeball thing, is that open to the public?
I'm not sure. I think tickets are, but not completely.
I just thought it might be kind of fun to watch. Okay, fantastic. Next, we have our awards, recognitions, and presentations. And I just want to say that we will be taking a brief break right after our comments from the audience, which is just following it. So I know that some of you want to go out and take pictures or greet each other. If you'll just wait until that point, and then we'll take a brief break to allow people to go back to their busy lives. So thank you. Dr. Matthews, I will turn to you on this.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Tonight is a very exciting evening. We have the opportunity to recognize 3 outstanding teachers in our district. And I will turn to Dr. Kindler, who will introduce them.
Good evening. Tonight, we recognize our Novi Community School District Teachers of the Year. The Novi Community School District Teacher of the Year program recognizes our teachers who have achieved the highest standards of excellence in our district. Teachers are nominated by their peers with recommendations by administration and many times parents and students. Last week, a caravan of administrators and board members traveled to 3 schools in our district to recognize our 2019 Teachers of the Year. This evening, we present the principals of those 3 schools who will introduce our elementary, middle, and high school 2019 Novi Community School District Teachers of the Year. First, I would like to introduce Novi Woods Principal, Mr. David Asher.
Thank you. If Mrs. Balconi could join me, please. What a privilege it is to introduce Mrs. Jody Balconi as our elementary Teacher of the Year. Since 1991, Mrs. Balconi has been a teacher at Novi Woods Elementary School, teaching 1st grade, kindergarten, and now 2nd grade. Her colleagues and students regularly report the same thing. Mrs. Balconi is absolutely amazing, and she always makes learning fun. And that is a direct quote from a bunch of former students just taken this morning. Most of all, she's the definition of an inspiring educator who is on fire for learning herself. She truly believes that her students are scientists, are readers, are authors, are leaders of their own learning. And in turn, her students believe that too. The thinking and learning produced in her classroom are because she believes in her students, and therefore they believe in themselves. Jody is extremely driven and genuinely excited when she has the opportunity to learn something new. And Jody, of course, brings that same excitement back to her classroom, her school, and our district. She was an early pioneer and passionate advocate of the Leader in Me and Seesaw work across our district. Recently, she's led book studies, staff meetings, and impact sessions to help improve the teaching and learning for all students. Staff report that the best thing about learning from Jody is that she never makes anyone feel bad about where they are. She only wants to help teachers and kids be better, and she does that in a loving and supportive way. Students in Jody's class know they are in charge of their own learning and their own behavior, and they also know she is always on their side to support and guide them. Jody works closely with students, colleagues, parents, and other service providers to ensure that all students feel physically and emotionally safe and supported in her classroom. She coordinates student speakers at PTO meetings and regularly attends after-school activities at school, and is known to pop by a student's soccer game or dance competition or other extracurricular events. She's loving, generous, and supportive in all the relationships she has. Jody Balconi is one of the biggest cheerleaders and encouragers of our students that we have. After a conversation with Mrs. Balconi, people walk away feeling motivated, capable, and most importantly, positive about the future. Jody is truly a source of light at Novi Woods and across the district. She has a magnetic personality and exudes professionalism, passion, and joy. She leads by example and tells her students to never stop reading or learning. She tells her students to try something new and to not be afraid of failing. Jody tries new things each day in her class, and her willingness to take risks is contagious. She is a teacher who loves her students, loves the profession, and believes in what she does. Jody Belconi is a phenomenal educator, and it is an honor, a genuine honor, to work with and know her. I am humbled to call her a Novi colleague, a Novi Woods teacher, and most of all, a friend. Mrs. Belconi has several visitors with her tonight. We'd like to give her a little moment to share who those visitors are and maybe just a couple of responses.
Wow, this is all very overwhelming, exciting, and so much fun. So I love it. This is my dad and my mom, my husband Randy, my brother-in-law Casey, and this is my twin sister Jill. Austin is a sophomore at Novi High School, and Riley, a senior now at Novi High School. My niece Samantha and her friend Gino. And then two of my very special colleagues, Allison and Jillian. So for me, it's really hard to believe that 22 years ago, Randy, I'm sure you'll remember this, I made a phone call to Randy after been teaching in the district for 7 years, and I called him and I said, Randy, you have to meet me after school today. There's a family that's selling their house in Novi and we have to buy it. And he very calmly said, we haven't even been married a year yet, and we have a really cool, cute house in Royal Oak. And I said, no, this is where we need to raise our family. I love it here. I love the families here. I love the community support here. This is where we need to be. He continued to remind me we don't have any kids at this point. We haven't even talked about kids. But being the supportive person that he is and always has been, he came out. This family took over us to their house. There were 3 offers in, but I had their child, and they said, we want you to have this. So we left there with a house. And since then, that was the beginning of my understanding of the power of community and the power of relationships. And you can imagine 28 years in the district, all of them at Novi Woods, the neighbors, the families, the students, the principals, the administration, the board members, my colleagues. Many have come and gone. I still stay in touch with them. But more than anything, the school leaders, the community leaders, they've all touched my life. And they've really embraced my family, and they've been inspirational to who I am as an educator. I most importantly want to thank my family for their love and support. They provide me many opportunities, adventures, and a lot of celebrations that I'm so proud of. To my colleagues at Novi Woods and across the district, I think that's the best part of being. Even though I was at Novi Woods for 28 years, I really was a colleague of everyone in the district, and I worked with everybody. And I think that's really important when you think about the power of community and what I've learned. So to my colleagues, thank you for making coming to work every day for me something that I always look forward to. And thank you for pushing me as a leader and a learner. To Dave and I met 21 years ago as Galileo leaders. He's been my friend ever since. When he found out he was coming to Novi Woods, I was so excited because he's always been an inspiration to me. To Dr. Matthews and Dr. Weber, you are visionaries, and I've worked with a lot of school leaders, but you have been amazing. You've provided a vision for our district, and you care so much about the families and the kids here. So thank you very much. Most importantly, though, I want to thank the community. This, Helen Keller's quote that says, together we can do so little, or alone we can do so little, but together we do so much, truly represents the district. I especially want to thank my 2 teammates, Allison and Jillian. They bring such an energy and such a passion and joy to teaching that has touched my life. They are the future of the district, and they are going to do so many amazing things. They make collaboration and trust something that is just so natural and easy for us. So again, going back to Helen Keller's quote, that alone we do so little, but together we can do so much, truly represents the power of the Novi community. So the school district, the community leaders, and the community members really deserve this recognition and honor. They have helped me, they've embraced me, and together we have celebrated families, we support families in the good and the times that we need them. And I can't wait to the future of this district. I truly believe that the culture that we're embracing, that the vision that we have, that the best is yet to come. And together, we're going to make amazing things happen. So thank you.
We are going to go just a little bit out of order this evening because Mr. Baker has a parent event at the middle school, so he's going to come running in just a couple minutes. So we're going to recognize our high school winner next. And to do so, I would like to introduce Novi High School Principal, Mrs. Nicole Carter.
Thank you. It's another great day to be a Novi Wildcat. James Comer, a professor of child psychiatry at Yale University, states, "No significant learning occurs without a significant relationship. Relationship building is at the core of our Novi High School Teacher of the Year, and it is an absolute honor and privilege for me to introduce to you Ms. Shannon Hadley. Can you join me at the podium, please?" Shannon has been a master ESL teacher since 2000. She's extremely passionate about language acquisition, having studied 8 languages of her own. She has a unique perspective about what it means to learn another language. She is the most empathetic and compassionate teacher that I have ever known. She motivates our students. She differentiates for our students. She encourages our students. She knows the academic needs of our students. She dedicates time to get to know about their cultures, their customs, their likes, and their dislikes. Shannon provides professional development for our teaching staff to ensure that they make learning accessible for all students. She accommodates activities, projects, and assessments so students can experience success in school. A Novi High School parent who wrote a supporting statement for her nomination packet eloquently stated the following about Miss Shannon Hadley. Shannon was a huge blessing for our family in many ways. She spent a lot of extra time with my children that she did not need to as their teacher, and she kept the lines of communication open with us on almost a daily basis, which helped us to survive a lot of trauma. I cannot even count the number of times she went above and beyond her teaching job to do whatever it took to educate. The fact that she communicated so much with me, knowing her time constraints, was appreciated by me. These few words cannot express my gratitude for her and the time she gave for our family. Shannon Hadley's caring never stops, and for that we are forever grateful. As you can see, Shannon Hadley exemplifies the tenets of the Novi Community School District. Novi Community School District stands for a commitment to excellence by providing a world-class learning opportunity for all. Allow me to reiterate, all. I would like to publicly thank the following individuals who took the time to nominate such a tremendous teacher. Mrs. Jennifer Kerbrath, a colleague of ours, Mrs. Kathy Ray, a Novi parent, and Ms. Kastiana Angelovsky, a student. So on behalf of the students, staff, parents, and stakeholders of the Novi High School community, please join me in applauding Ms. Shannon Hadley, our 2019 Teacher of the Year.
So I might pass out, so I'm going to make this really quick. I don't like to be in the spotlight, but thank you to Nicole. And thank you to my father for being here all the way from Arizona. Sorry.
He can take extra strawberries for coming the furthest.
And she would also like to thank Miss Mickey Seiler and her husband for being present. Mickey was a long-standing colleague of Shannon's for a number of years, and so she's come full circle in having her in the audience tonight to support her in earning this awesome recognition. So, thank you so
So we're giving Mr. Baker every opportunity to arrive, but we do have a backup plan. So it looks like it's going to be the backup plan.
Sharon, come up as well, please.
So introducing our middle school teacher of the year, Dr. R.J. Weber.
Come on right around here, David. So I've had it's hard to believe, the pleasure of being here for 9 years, and I've known David for those 9 years, and David and I have something in common in that he's a social studies teacher, and really the thing, though, that comes into when you walk into David's classroom is such an amazingly deep care and consideration for the kids in the room. They feel cared about, and there's a word that David used earlier, Asher, which is love. And it's really, you just know it and feel it when you walk into the space. And what you're doing for those kids is providing an experience every day through being very well planned and very engaged, showing them that you care about them. And kind of a funny story, we can't tell all of it. I was in your room earlier this year, and David was doing something with Hamilton. So I know some of you in the crowd really enjoy musical theater, things like that. Kids were connecting with it beautifully. It reminded me of a song that I knew back in the day, but I only knew a little part of the song. So I kind of just started singing it. And then David said, hey, can I have the lyrics to that song? So I went back and I looked it up, and I'm like, I can't email this from anywhere, because there are parts to the song later that were not as appropriate as I would have hoped. But I didn't know that at the time. So I didn't, but I went to your room and said that. And any student who's had you or been in your classroom, and your colleagues as well, love you. And another piece that I'll say, so David is also very much an advocate for social justice and advocate and ally for kids, and has been part of that journey as a district for the past 9 years. Also, to give you an idea of the type of man he is, unfortunately, a colleague of his, she lost her husband very unexpectedly. And I know that you were there for her in that space and in that time of her sorrow for an extensive amount of time in providing support. All these things are the little things that people don't see about the teachers in our classrooms. We may hear about from the media about what education is or isn't. All you have to do is to go to Shannon's room, or Jody's room, or David's room, or Sharon's room, and you will know and feel what an amazing experience it is to be in the presence of master professional educators. And it has nothing to do with the technical aspect. It's nothing to do with all the little the things that we study or the Marzano evaluation piece. It's where you start with from a place of love. And that's obvious to me and to the district. And I was also hoping perhaps, Sharon, that you could say a couple words about that. But the thing is, as well, that's very obvious, and if you don't know, Sharon teaches as well with David. And so the fact that you're in the same space like that, and you're smiling, it's good. But the fact is, you make a remarkable team, and I thought it'd also be nice if you had an opportunity to maybe share one thing about your husband that you think is just spectacular. Is the man that you know, just one. I don't want to put too much pressure on you, that you've seen him do at home that maybe we don't see as far as preparation for teaching or how he talks about or loves the work he does. Did you do that?
Sure, yes.
And then after that, then we'll make sure that if you'd like to say a few words, please do. All right? Thank you. Yeah, you're very welcome.
So I would love to help recognize Dave, because one thing that stands out to me is he works harder than I've ever seen anybody work. He spends so much time at home making sure his lessons, all the details, especially differentiating between the gen ed kids and the sheltered EL class. He makes sure that he teaches what he needs to. It includes visuals and trying to think. Yeah, you just are a very hard worker. And so the second thing that stands out to me is how much he cares about his students. When he talks about them, he talks about ways that he could help them if they're having any kind of a problem. So those two things.
Well, I don't have much to say. I worked with some great people here in Novi over the years, and I was lucky enough to marry one of them. Very few of us do. And the administration, down to the students who make it just a great place to come and just not just teach, but also learn yourself. So the kids really make this awesome, and I can be more thankful and grateful for the recognition. Thank you.
Just a couple of closing remarks. In just my short 16 months in this district, the day that we travel the district to recognize our Teachers of the Year has become my favorite day of the year. And I think you can tell a lot about a teacher by observing students in their presence. And when we walk into the classrooms of our Teachers of the Year, watching how the students respond to their recognition tells the story. And it doesn't matter whether they're high school seniors or kindergartners, the students are joyful for the honor bestowed on their teachers, and that says a lot. So thank you for your support of our Teacher of the Year program. All three of our winners will be entered into the Oakland County Outstanding Teacher of the Year program sponsored by Oakland Schools. They will select 3 winners, and those winners will be announced in the next few weeks. So thank you very much.
And I think the NEF also,
yes,
the Suburban Collection, one of our teachers will be selected for a car, to get a car. So that's an added bonus. I don't know if board members have anything that they would like to add or say on behalf. I can certainly say something on behalf of the board. Please do. Is that okay with everyone? No, if everybody wants to chime in, I will just say that I've had the privilege of going to DC with David several times. He is such an even-tempered, even-keeled guy. He's great to be around. He's a nice, calming presence for me, who's not used to being around 8th graders, which has been wonderful. So I can say that I am thrilled that you were honored by this. Jody, I've known you for a long time. Our daughters played soccer together. My kids didn't have you, but I wish they had. But you make everything fun, even sitting at a soccer game in the pouring rain. So when he said that you make everything fun, I'm like, oh yes, she sure does. So I'm thrilled. I knew it was only a matter of time before you probably showed up here for this award. And Shannon, did she disappear? Well, you can share with her later that I had a foreign exchange student last year, and she loved Shannon, and it was such a safe place for her. Shannon was hugely supportive. There were a few classes that Bea took. She was from Spain. That the language was she took psychology, which was a very different language, and Shannon was just awesome about kind of helping her through that and kind of recognizing and being able to kind of manage and manipulate her way through that class. And she ended up with a B, so she was very happy about that. But it's just the language is very different. Even though she was fantastic in English, the vocabulary, terminology, and Shannon was there for her all the time with that, and she just would come home talking about Shannon and how much she helped her with things. So I know that if she's that for one student, she's probably that for every student. So great teachers. We do have fantastic teachers in this district. We are very blessed that you guys rose to the top this year. We know that it was a very difficult decision, I'm sure, for the powers that be over there. So, and we thank you for being here, because this is a fun night for us too, to be able to recognize those teachers that really have done a fantastic job and whose peers have recognized that and wanted to see them honored. So thanks very much for being here. We are going to take a brief break after comments from the audience. This is comments about anything on our agenda. So if there is anyone that would like to make a comment about something that's been on our agenda or is coming up on the agenda, you are welcome to take the podium, fill out a green card, and I don't know where Mrs. Holly is. She was here, but you could leave it on the end of the table. Is there anybody that would like to speak to anything on our agenda? All right. Well, seeing that, you apparently want a break so you can go out and eat some more of the cookies and stuff that are out there that we have for the teachers. And I really do hope you do, because otherwise we get done and then there's too much there for us. So thank you very much for being here this evening, and we will take a brief break. It is 7:29. We will resume at 7:35. Okay, 6 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Good. We are back. We took a brief break, and in the brief break that we took, we had somebody run in that has some comments that they would like to make about one of our Teacher of the Year. We thank you. Mr. Baker was otherwise occupied at the middle school, assisting parents and learning all about everything that our middle school students told us, which was a lot of little mini sessions. So we're glad you made it.
Thank you.
And I will turn, this is our Teacher of the Year for the middle school, and this is Robert Baker, the principal at
I do apologize. I thank you for giving me a couple minutes here just to address the board and everyone here. I was welcoming 6th graders and 6th grade parents to the middle school, and they are very excited to start next year already. I can't believe it. But I now want to take a moment, first and foremost, to thank the Novi Board of Education for continuing the honor of recognizing 3 of our great teachers in the Novi Community School District. Especially Mr. Dave Knies, who's a star at the Novi Middle School. He just delivers some amazing instruction day in and day out. I am new to the building, but I have been in his room several times, and he knocks me over with a couple different things. One is he's always trying new things, new approaches. When I was in one day, he was doing a Schoology lesson, connecting 3 very different historical things, but helping kids to build some really neat connections between the 3, and then he was having them answer quick questions and get some feedback, and then he used that feedback to then drive the next day's instruction. That's just top-notch approach to teaching. I want to say Jody, Shannon, and Dave are all 3 bright examples of what our district has to offer. But now it's Dave's moment, so I'm going to focus on Dave for a couple seconds here. As a person and as a professional, he is a humble practitioner, and that's what I love about him winning this award, is he would never lobby for it or want it. He kind of doesn't operate like that. He has a great sense of humility about him. He doesn't seek acclaim. He never wants credit for the things that he does. He just does them with a smile on his face and an energy to him, which is contagious, and that's part of his charm. When a new approach comes around, he's game. He's game because he wants to improve. He's embraced understanding by design, which the middle school uses to kind of think about what we're learning, design backwards from there, what assessments we want students to be able to do to demonstrate that they've mastered the skills that we want them to have. He targets his assessments and lessons along those lines. He's an early adopter of Schoology, using that form of feedback I just described to adjust his instruction and connect with students and parents. He's also kind, he's enthusiastic, he's genuine, he's committed, and he's been with us for 23 years, throwing down in our district. When you watch him teach, it's obvious that he loves his kids, and he loves history as much as those kids as well. I'd say they're about even, because he's always reading a new history book and trying to weave little nuggets into his lessons that his kids may or may not want to hear, but he's super excited about history, and that becomes contagious. He reads, he thinks, he shares, and he's always trying to bring historical concepts to life for kids, so that something that seems like a bunch of old dead white guys doing things and stuff relates to what a middle schooler is excited about and learning about, and I think that's a gift that he has. One day I was in his class. He was kind of taking some elements of the Hamilton musical, and he'd rewritten some of the lyrics to make it connect to what they were learning about. One of his students gifted him a Hamilton lyric book back, and it said that Hamilton favored the elites, right? I'm no Hamilton, but you're an elite U.S. history teacher. Thanks to you, I got into Hamilton, and it's one of my favorite things ever. And that just speaks to that passion he's always trying to ignite in making connections with kids. Dave strives to make connections all over the place. He picked up SIOP training, which is our Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, to help our ELL students, and he's got students who struggle with English, but he brings in new techniques to help them understand the concepts that he's teaching them very effectively, and those transfer into his other classes as well, and so that's wonderful. He's also just kind of silently has been helping the PASSN organization, which is the Parents of African American Students in Novi. He's been tutoring and helping to coordinate volunteers for 7 years. He goes in Saturday mornings and just teaches math to kids that need help, and I think that's something that he never would have told me, but I found out about, and I think that's awesome. So he is always here for our community. One of my first interactions with Dave was when he came running into my office, and he said, I got this idea, and he's banded together with our art teacher, Alex Erskine, and they're going to put together an escape room for our kids. And so he said, I got this room in the back of the middle school. It's got furniture in it. Can we move some of that around? And I put together some puzzles, and we can have kids come in during academic 20 time and try to solve these riddles. And I said, yes, that is awesome. Go for it, Dave. And so he's been working with the Nova Education Foundation, helped to fund some supplies for that, and they're working, helping me clean out a back room as well. and he's going to have that up and running this spring. So just wanted to take a minute to publicly thank Andrea Coles, who is one of our ELL teachers that helped to nominate, as well as Karen Alcott, a mother, and her son Scott, who worked to put together the application and the recognition for Dave. Also want to recognize Dave's wife Sharon, who also teaches in our building, is a wonderful teacher, and you already heard from her. And we just thank you for sharing Dave with our community. So thank you for letting me have a few minutes. Congratulations, Dave.
Do you want to say anything else? Okay. I'm glad we gave you those few minutes because we learned some things about Mr. Knies that we wouldn't have known otherwise. Thank you again for rushing over from your other event. We will move on to our consent items. These are items that don't necessarily require any discussion. So I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve consent items as presented.
Second. Been moved by Mr. Mena and supported by Mrs. Roney. I'll call the question. I will not. I will ask you for a roll call vote, Mr. Mena.
Okay. Trustee Hood.
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 6-0. Next are action items. Our first action item is our personnel report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, and I will turn to Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. This evening we have two recommendations. They are both retirements, effective at the end of the year. First, Thomas Gilmet, fourth grade teacher at Village Oaks, and also Susan Tominick, physical education teacher at Novi Middle School.
All right, I would entertain a motion. Mrs. Hood.
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopts the personnel report recommendations as presented.
All right.
Support.
It's been moved by Mrs. Hood and supported by Mr. Mena. I am sad to see Ms. Tominick. I didn't realize she was old enough to retire. Anyway, sad to see her on there because she's been a fantastic. She's had all four of my kids, which is, there's only 2 teachers in the whole district that have had all 4 of them, so I'll be sad to see her go.
And I was going to say the same thing about Mr. Gilmet. I might vote no on this. He was a wonderful fourth grade teacher for Connor.
Yes. Tori had him as well.
It's hard to, we see these great teachers here, and now we have to vote to let these teachers leave us, which we don't like doing. But I'm sure that they have other things that they maybe want to enjoy doing. So I will ask for another roll call vote on our personnel report, Mr. Mena.
Trustee Hood.
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 6-0. Next is our MASB Board of Director elections. I don't know that we need to read this whole thing again. We had this on our agenda last time. I believe that the discussion at the last meeting was Steve Gottlieb from Troy District, who represent us for Region 8, and Mr. Smith recommended Lisa Krieger from Rockford Public Schools. I would entertain well, I will just say first that I had the opportunity to meet Steve Gottlieb downtown at the thing last weekend. I certainly think Troy's a somewhat similar district to us, and they are a high-achieving district, so I can certainly support that. And also Lisa Krieger, she was not there, but 3 of her colleagues were, and I spoke with them briefly, and all 3 said that she would be fantastic. She is a very dedicated servant, and so I don't know if there's other, I know we talked about, you mentioned Brigitte McQuestion.
I think we're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I would entertain a recommendation but you'll have to fill in the blanks. Okay, Mrs. Hood.
I recommend that the Novi Community Schools Board of Education MASB Board of Directors election ballot for Region 8 be cast for Steve Gottlieb from the Troy School District, candidate for 3-year term, and MASB Board of Directors election ballot for Group 5 be cast for Lisa Krieger, candidate for a 3-year term.
Thank you.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Mrs. Hood and supported by Mrs. Ruskin. I would, if there's no, is there any additional discussion on this item? All right, I would have a roll call vote, Mr. Mena?
Trustee Hood.
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 6-0. Next is our English language arts immersion trip to England and Scotland. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. We talked about this at our last board meeting. This is a trip that Amy Miller, Ronald Hinterhand, Jessica Rogers, and Peggy Bassett, the Novi High School English teachers, are requesting approval for so they can take students to England and Scotland. There was a question over the timing of it. We checked with them, and the timing will take place over the spring break in 2020, which will be April 3rd through April 12th. And so we would ask for approval for that this evening.
All right, I would entertain a motion first. Mr. Mena?
Motion to approve the English language arts immersion trip as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Mena and supported by Ms. Roney. Is there any additional dialogue on this? I know they've taken this in the past.
They just went to England.
Well, they just went to England, and it was a couple of years ago.
Correct.
So again, another great opportunity for our kids to do something productive over spring break, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, fantastic. I will have Mr. Mena do a roll call vote for us, please.
Trustee Hood.
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
All right. Next, we have the Japanese immersion trip. Dr. Matthews.
This is for information and discussion tonight. The Grassroots Exchange Network of Japan came to our district and said that they would offer 10 Novi High School students and 2 chaperones an all-expense-paid trip to Japan. The students would have a great opportunity to visit Detroit's sister city, Toyota, explore the Nagoya Castle, Tokyo, and other notable places. They will also increase their understanding of the Japanese culture and language. The trip is paid for by Gen J and includes the round-trip airfare, hotel accommodations, most meals, group travel fees, admissions fees for planned events, and overseas travel insurance. The students are encouraged to bring spending money for incidentals and souvenirs. This trip, originally, the high school did not believe it would needed to come as a field trip because it's by an outside sponsor, but we told them it did need to come as a field trip recommendation. Also, the students who go cannot be of Japanese ancestry because they want the students to learn language and culture, and the Japanese students would already know the language and culture. And so we offered it to the students in Novi, and we did have 10 who would want to participate. They had an application form, and they've identified who those students would be. And so this would be an experience that would be ready to go if the board would approve it at our next board meeting.
All right. I know that there were a couple questions. It sounds like you just addressed the questions that came across through email. Are there other questions that board members have about the Japanese trip?
The only thing I was going to say, if you're a teacher who can secure a free trip to Japan for 10 students and 2 chaperones, all expense paid, you deserve to be Teacher of the Year.
Yeah. It's a fantastic opportunity. I mean, I don't know if this is something that may, I don't want to say be recurring, but it would be nice if it was something that would be coming back to us. I am a little curious about the timing because we're not going to approve it till March 7th, but they leave March 30th. Is that, from a timing perspective, okay?
I think we'll be okay.
Are we creating anxiety for any of those students? Would be my question.
The anxiety would come up if the board discussion this evening indicated that it wouldn't be approved.
Okay. Okay. So no additional questions. We're feeling like, I mean, expenses paid. It's not like they have to raise a lot of money before they leave, so they're not in the same position as a lot of the other field trips are in terms of the timing. So if they can wait for this to come back for action.
And they obviously need parental permission to go, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I suspect they did.
I suspect so too. Okay. Fantastic. So we will see that on our agenda next week if there is anything that somebody...
In 2 weeks.
Or in 2 weeks, excuse me, 2 weeks. Next is our musical instrument bid. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, and I will turn to Ms. Minnick.
Thank you. Good evening. Bids for the purchase of musical instruments for the Novi High School, Novi Middle School, and Novi Meadows bands and orchestras were opened and publicly read on January 29th, 2019. Band and orchestra teachers from across those buildings developed and prioritized the instrument listing. I reviewed the bid responses with Novi High School band teacher Mark Corrigan. All bids recommended for award are the lowest qualified bids. The grand total of bids recommended for award is $83,339.67, comprised of the companies and amounts that follow. Alamo Music Center, $2,612.94. Sasio, $1,729.50. Marshall Music Incorporated, $7,355. Music and Arts, $420. Hecknell, $868. Sharp Products Company, $8,032.32. Taylor Music, $11,809.91. Washington Music Center, $56,512, for a grand total of $89,339.67. These bids are planned expenditures from the 2014 Capital Projects Bond Fund. The bids are being presented tonight for information and discussion, with awarding of the bids potentially at the March 7th, 2019 board meeting.
I noticed that the totals are a little different. Did you notice that? You said the grand total of the bid, I'm sorry, I didn't notice this until just this minute. You said the grand total is 83, but the total on the bottom is 89, so.
Did I misspeak? I'm so sorry.
Well,
No,
I think the numbers are just a typo. Is it 80? I think it might be 83, but I didn't do the math. I tried to do it in my head as you were reading them, and I'm not that good at math, so. So if we could just make sure that
we'll correct that.
that bid is corrected on our, so that we know.
Of course. I apologize.
No, that's okay. It's one number, but it's.
Well, it's important.
So.
Let me see if I can.
Yes, Mr. Mena.
Ms. Minnick, so you, in the text that we got, you said this was part of a planned expenditure as part of the 2014 capital project bond fund, correct?
That's right.
So had we not made a large purchase like this before, or is this part of a regular rotation that we make for buying instruments?
There was a large purchase made a few years ago as part of this bond project. They had a remaining allocation to spend for these 3 buildings for band and orchestra. So this represents the next instrument listing, their prioritized needs. Surprisingly, these bids came in quite a bit lower than anticipated, so there may be an additional bid coming before the board within the next few months as well. The band and orchestras were given an allocation to spend toward musical instruments and music stands and those kinds of things. So this is a remaining portion of that allocation.
Okay. Other questions? For information and discussion? Okay, so from what I understand, we'll get the corrected number for next week's action item, and you just indicated that it's possible because there is additional money in that, I'll say the pot of money that was allocated for that they could be coming back and we could see something else that's still from the 2014.
Yes,
is that correct? Okay. All right. Seeing no additional questions, we will move on to a technology bid. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. This is for some switches and core units, and I will turn to Ms. Minnick before I say anything that I shouldn't say.
Thank you. A comprehensive request for proposal, an RFP, was released by Oakland Schools on December 17th, 2018, on behalf of Oakland Schools in 11 of our field service districts. The RFP was issued as part of the federal E-Rate Universal Service Fund program. The E-Rate program assists schools and libraries to obtain and support affordable broadband connections and infrastructure. Under the E-Rate program, the district is eligible for reimbursement for part of this project based upon our free and reduced lunch program and a federal formula. Novi is reimbursed at the 40% rate for eligible parts and services under this program. Novi Community School District is participating in this project to replace our core network switching and uninterruptible power supplies. The existing core switch is 7 years old and is scheduled for replacement in 2019. The uninterruptible power supplies equipment is approximately 5 years old, and many of the batteries are due for replacement. On January 17, 2019, Oakland Schools received 6 bid responses for the switching equipment and 4 bid responses for the uninterruptible power supplies. A committee comprised of network engineers, network administrators, management, district coordinators, and directors reviewed the bid responses. The committee held initial interviews on February 5th, 2019 for the switching proposals, and all federal E-rate requirements, including Novi Board of Education approval, must be met by March 27th, 2019. Once the project is awarded, work may begin after April 1st, with an anticipated completion of September 1st, 2019. Based upon bid reviews and interviews, the Technology Department recommends Novi Community Schools award the following contracts. Number 1, Cisco Network Core Electronic Switching Equipment, Installation, Support, and 7 years of licensing to Presidio for $47,784.44. The project will include a 10% contingency managed by the district for a total project budget of $52,562.88. Uninterruptible power supplies, 5-year warranty, disposal of old batteries and equipment and installation, award to Coast for $72,305.50. The project will include a 10% contingency managed by the district for a total project budget of $79,536.05. The Technology Department requests then a total expenditure of $132,098.93 for these projects from the 2014 Capital Projects Bond Fund. Each project is eligible for partial E-rate reimbursement and will be submitted to the Universal Service Fund per the federal rules and guidelines. This recommendation comes before the board tonight for information and discussion, and it will come before the board for approval at the March 7th meeting. We have with us this evening Jeff Mazuritz, Director of Technology with Open Schools, to answer any questions or wonderings you may have.
All right. Thanks for being here, Maz. Do we have questions from the board on the technology bid? Mr. Mena?
Yeah, just curious on, again, talking about rotation of equipment. We've made quite a bit of an investment in some of the networking technology that we have here in the district. How does this play into what we purchased with some of the other funds that came out of the capital projects fund?
Sure. So this switch was not replaced in 2014 when we did all of the other network switches. It was new enough that we could continue to use it during that usable life. So this was part of a normal refresh cycle as far as the network switches were scheduled for.
So how many switches are we replacing here?
This is the core network switch. Currently it's a chassis with blades in it. It'll be replaced by 4 switches because of Cisco's model changes and some reduction in size and power consumption that'll save us some money on electricity.
Okay. And as far as the interruptible power supplies, are we just going to remove or get rid of the ones that have bad batteries in them now?
We're going to replace all 100 of them. What it'll do is provide us about a net savings of about $5,000 per year out of our operational budget by replacing all of the UPSs. And then we'll look at what options we have with the existing UPSs, whether we resell them or repurpose them. But every closet has multiple UPSs, so we have about 100 across the district. From a business case sense, we thought it was best to use the E-rate funds, get the 40% reimbursement on those versus the operational cost. With the competitive bids that we got, it was very difficult to pass up.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions for fellow board members? Okay. If you do think of anything, if we can get them to Mrs. Minnick or Dr. Matthews so that we can have those before the next meeting and get those responses out. Thank you for being here, Mr. Maz. Next, we have our furniture bid, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. I will turn to Ms. Minnick for the furniture.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. As discussed at previous board meetings over the past few years, the district's plan to replace much of the classroom and student furniture continues through 2019 and is a planned purchase from the 2014 bond. Dr. R.J. Weber and Mr. Steve Barr completed extensive research regarding classroom furniture, including visiting manufacturers, furniture dealers, and multiple school districts that have made a cultural shift in their classroom furniture. Common characteristics of the new classroom furniture include flexibility, ergonomic design, and high-quality materials. I have met with each building principal and department director to identify remaining furniture needs in their classrooms, cafeterias, and support offices, prioritized in order of student and students' families and staff use against remaining bond funds. The attached classroom furniture upgrades timeline details the projects completed to date and the current planned purchases. Planned purchases include remaining classroom student desks and chairs not previously replaced throughout the district, student furniture in most art and music classrooms, cafeteria tables and seating at Village Oaks, Novi Meadows, and Novi High School, and staff desk task chairs district-wide, and furniture needs and support offices and meeting rooms. The following table in front of you indicates the companies and total amounts recommended for award, with pricing from the National IPA Cooperative bid. We have a number of furniture manufacturers and recommended dealers, including VS America for $265,711.05, Trendway, $396,358.60, Seating Concepts, $34,915.10, Mighty Light for $26,910.40, Wenger, $16,667.20, and Academia, $14,586, for a total of $836,574.75. The purchase of furniture is presented tonight for information and discussion, with the awarding of the purchases at the next regular meeting of the Board of Ed meeting on March 7th to the companies listed above. I will add that I'll be presenting to the board or providing to the board an itemized detailed list of each piece of furniture that is included in this bid this evening.
All right. Questions from the board on our furniture purchase? I appreciated the seeing the timeline and all the things that we've completed already. It's always good, especially given our new board members, to see how the bond has been used to upgrade and refresh those things. So thanks for providing that.
We've made a significant investment in our classrooms throughout the district.
Are there additional questions that people have about the bid?
No. I just wanted to comment, we make an investment in some pretty cool furniture in this district, probably have done stuff in that area that many other districts haven't done. And again, here's another opportunity for us to communicate that better to folks outside who might be considering coming to this district. Not necessarily to you, Ms. Minnick, I'm just saying in general. Right? I mean, here's another opportunity when we start revamping our website, another selling point for our district. We've made investments in some areas that most people probably don't think about.
A little bit of a point of pride, right?
Right. So, again, we really need to start doing a better job noting these things so that we can make sure that they're inclusive on our new website and anywhere else where we would need to communicate that too.
It's a good point.
Thanks.
All right, if you do have questions, again, we'll route them through Dr. Matthews to Ms. Minnick on that. Next, we have the right-of-way. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. Before you tonight is a resolution that the City of Novi would like the board to approve. And if the board is agreeable, the city would like this to be approved this evening so that they could put it on their city council agenda for next week and then get the bids out earlier than if we were to wait till March 7th. I will let Ms. Minnick explain what this resolution says.
Okay.
You don't need to read the resolution, by the way.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. The city, as Dr. Matthews mentioned, the City of Novi has requested the district to grant right-of-way for purposes of road improvements along Beck and 11 Mile roads. This district property is road frontage that runs along the Bosco property. In an effort to improve traffic flow and provide drainage and pedestrian connections to the property, the planned road improvements by the city include deceleration lanes, drainage improvements, and a sidewalk. The authorizing resolution, purchase agreement, and warranty deed are presented tonight for information and discussion, with approval either this evening or at the March 7th board meeting for granting the right-of-way.
All right.
And if the board has questions, Ms. Minnick could answer those. But if the board were to see fit, the resolution would be that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the resolution as presented.
Okay.
So given that it's not yet an action item, we could start having discussion before we make a motion, correct?
Yeah, I think that would be the wise thing to do because it's possible that people would not be comfortable. So, questions for?
So, we're talking about the corner of Beck and 11 Mile, which is along our Bosco property. They're looking for to add sidewalks in that area.
Correct.
And you said what else? You said something about right-of-way improvements.
Yes, they are looking to improve Beck and 11 Mile. And so they're wanting to add deceleration lanes, which is the proper term for a right turn lane. It's kind of an approach to the street so that you can slow down and then make your turn. so a deceleration lane, improve drainage on the road, and build sidewalks.
This is all kind of wrapped around the agreement that we have with the city for them to use Bosco for fields that they're preparing to create over the next few months.
My sense is that it ties into longer range plans the city may have for road improvements, whether it's Beck Road or Road Mile. I think it's probably part of those longer term plans.
I certainly know that talking to the community about that area and that corner has been some concern about the things going in, not concern, but the traffic level of things going in there. So if they're doing things to improve the traffic along there to be safer, I know that a lot of our buses turn there as well, to turn left there as well, to go into. So I mean, it makes sense to me that they would want to enhance that before they open that up. And the drainage would this need, like if we were using this for our purposes, this would need to be done anyways, I'm guessing.
The city would have recommended that we do some of these things if we were using it for our purposes.
Right. So, okay. That was my big question. If it was something that, if we decided to put a school on there, I guess is what I'm saying, down the road, would this stuff, my guess is this improvements would need to be done anyways. Mr. Cook.
In the resolution here, it says, whereas the board has determined that the property is no longer necessary for school purposes. I don't think we determined that it was no longer necessary. It's just that we don't have any plans for it at this time.
I believe they're only talking about the property that we're selling, not the bigger.
We're not selling, we're leasing.
Leasing. Well, no.
Well, this is a transfer of property for the right of way.
Right, yeah.
But it's just a strip, correct? It's
correct, yes.
Two strips of land that are, do you know how wide?
60 feet.
60 feet?
So I think that's what that refers to, is it's just that property is no longer necessary for school purposes.
Our attorneys have prepared this.
Yes, they have worked in concert with the city's attorneys as well.
Okay. Are there questions? Mr. Mena?
Well, if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion. So I move that we approve this right-of-way resolution and agreement with the city of Novi as presented.
We have to vote to move it to action, I believe, first.
We shouldn't have to.
I don't think you technically do. But
Yeah, anything
We
could
do
be
not.
made a motion, yeah, we should be good.
I thought in the past we'd usually done that, but,
Support.
okay. It's been moved by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. Oh, Tom, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot, I keep forgetting you're there.
You gotta wait for him to raise his hand, though.
I know. Okay, so it's been moved by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. Cook that we approve the right-of-way resolution as presented. So if there's no further, is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, I would ask for a roll call vote, Mr. Mena.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Hood?
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Roney?
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure the city will be happy so that they can get that moving. Next is modifying our schedule of open discussion work sessions. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. The current Board of Education schedule calls for meetings the first and third Thursday of each month. In addition, 4 work sessions have been scheduled during the course of the school year. Over the past several years, 2 have been on Saturday, typically starting at 8:30 a.m. and running until noon, and 2 on Thursday evenings, typically starting at 7 and running until 9. Work sessions scheduled for the rest of the 2018-19 and 2019-20 school years are as follows. April 18th, 2019, June 22nd, 2019, September 26th, 2019, January 11th, 2020, April 23rd, 2020, and June 27th, 2020. The board's bylaws state the following about board meetings. Regular meetings of the board will be held in accordance with the schedule established by the board at the organizational meeting. The agenda for each regular meeting will be developed by the president of the board in consultation with the superintendent. In Novi, the Thursday night meetings are considered regular meetings of the board. The agenda is very similar and structured. In some districts, one board meeting a month is considered a workshop. A workshop is a more informal meeting that allows for extended conversations on topics. Tonight, the Board of Education can discuss if the current schedule meets the needs of the board. If the board wishes to change the current schedule, a recommendation can come back to the board that would modify the schedule that was approved on January 10th, 2019.
All right, so this is something that Mr. Smith had mentioned, a desire to move to a little less formal format for at least one meeting, maybe a month, or some other configuration. So I don't know if you want to speak first to that, Mr. Smith, or if you would just like to hear the discussion. Either way is fine with me.
I'm open to hear the discussion. I don't know if, when I brought the issue up, if it would be necessary or wise to have every other meeting be informal, one formal meeting a month and the other as a workshop session. But I just think it would be beneficial to us as a board with regards to having better communication amongst all of our board members if we had more or less informal sessions or workshop sessions than we currently have.
Okay. All right. Board members have Mr. Mena?
Yeah, I actually requested this on the agenda after it was brought up by Mr. Smith during our last work session. It's actually our strategic planning meeting that we had. This is something that I've been talking about, at least requesting informally for quite some time, and seems to be of interest of other board members as well. Basically, the thought is we would like to have an opportunity as board members to discuss things with administrations on just miscellaneous things we can do to improve our district. Talk about things we can do to improve the lives of our students, improve the working environment of our employees, things that can improve communication with our parents, things that can improve relationships with our stakeholders, really anything that may come up based on communications we have with community members, with parents, just kind of an open discussion. I'm not necessarily asking that we modify our calendar. All I'm asking for, what I'd like to see anyway, is that we just carve out a piece of maybe 4 times a year of existing work sessions where we can have this sort of discussion. Now, if I go over to the Board of Education meeting website, there's, going back to July 23rd of 2018, there's a total of 32 meetings on here through June 22nd of 2019. And out of those, 10 of them are either work sessions or special sessions. So 10 out of 32. I figure that we could probably carve out some time in existing work sessions to have these discussions.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
I tend to agree with Mr. Mena there to change one of the meetings during the month to a work session and then have the other one as a regular meeting tends to delay things and delay decisions. So having the 2 regular meetings a month is, we get time sensitive things like even tonight with the deed. So to make sure that we have during our regularly scheduled work sessions on a quarterly basis time set aside that we can discuss as a board things that we each feel and have a little bit more open and candid conversation, I think would be very, very beneficial. Quite often those agendas are filled with already other topics and we can't get to them, but if we make sure that time is set aside from the get-go, I think it would be very beneficial.
So, if I'm hearing right, it's not adding additional meetings, it's just taking those work sessions that we already have scheduled and ensuring that during the time that's set aside for those meetings that we have some time for more informal
open parking lot discussion.
So like new business kind of thing.
Yep. Or new ideas, right. Okay.
Ideas, yeah.
Okay.
Is that kind of what you had in mind, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I think at least once quarterly would be a great place to start, and we can go from there.
Okay. Okay, so there will not be a need to modify a current meeting schedule. We just need to make sure that we plan the agenda.
So the next work session on the official board calendar April 18th.
Which is budget.
We can talk through how we're going to approach budget, but that one is an additional board meeting, so we could.
Okay, but maybe what we can see is we can see if we can work it in with what our regular meeting is, and we can always come back and readjust, right? And potentially add a work session after a board meeting, like we've done in the past.
Right.
You know, shorten a regular board meeting and have a work session following it, which we don't have any difficulty doing that.
Because in April, we have board meetings, the regular meetings on the 11th and the 25th. The 18th is a pre-planned kind of work session meeting.
Right, okay, so if we're clear, we don't really need to alter that. We will need to look at the calendar, though. Mrs. Howley pointed out that we have our graduation, the alternative ed graduation is on an evening that we do not have a board meeting this year, and I don't know.
So we'll bring that proposal.
We'll bring that up for discussion. I wanted to wait and see how this went, so we'll bring that up for discussion the next meeting. Okay, so we can move on to comments from the audience. This is an opportunity for anybody to talk to us about anything within our jurisdiction. If you do wish to approach the podium and fill out a green card. I'm not seeing anyone make a mad dash over there, so we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. I will defer my comments this evening because we have a work session on the strategic plan coming up, and so I will defer to the administrator.
Okay. Ms. Middick.
Thank you. This evening, I do have a few things. First of all, good news, the Cat Rack at the Novi High School now accepts credit cards.
Yay!
Yeah. The Cat Rack is the high school student store operated by students enrolled in the marketing class as part of our CTE programming. The store carries spiritware and snacks, and these credit card readers are 2 mobile stations, so they can be used outside, for example, at football games or Taste of Novi, those types of events, or anywhere in the building for that matter. The system accepts debit, Apple Pay, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. Our instructor of the marketing course, Rob Armstrong, says, so far the system is working well and is very user-friendly for the students. The card readers are a nice feature for the Cat Rack and will create more flexible payment options for community and staff. So that's good news. Secondly, I wanted to bring to your attention that the RFP for the summer 2019 paving projects was posted on the 19th. This year planned for paving projects is strictly larger sections of asphalt replacements, curb, gutters, sidewalks. No one parking lot will be completely taken out and replaced. No large-scale lot reconstruction is planned. Parking lot restriping, those kinds of things at every building throughout the district. I also wanted to let you know that on Wednesday, February 13th, we held coffee with the assistant superintendents at the Novi Public Library in Dr. Matthews' absence, where we hosted a guest speaker, Dr. David Arson from Michigan State University. He co-authored a report titled Michigan School Funding at the Crossroads, which examined public school funding over the past 25 years since the passage of Proposal A. In light of increased focus by the state, thank you. President Murphy is showing a copy of the report. In light of increased focus by the state on assessments, proficiencies, and student performance and outcomes, the report examines Michigan's support of school funding in contrast to other states throughout our nation, and looking at it through a lens of adequacy and equity. And I think it's an important community conversation to have. So thank you to the Novi Public Library for allowing us to use that venue, and the parents, board members, and colleagues who joined the conversation that day. Last, I already mentioned too that the bid tabulation for the musical instruments came in quite a bit lower than anticipated, so there may be another round of musical instruments. Another surprise for that program coming before you. But I sought clarification, and I apologize. I did provide an earlier incomplete version of the bid tabulation to you. So I am preparing an email to you now so that you'll have the correct bid tab. But it matches the value, the total dollar value amount in the report that I read to you this evening.
Great, thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much. I'd stand up and give you a standing ovation for nothing else but for handling that credit card issue over at the Cat Rack. For parents and school board members and teachers that have wanted to buy stuff in that store, sometimes it makes it very difficult without having that credit card processing. And I know that's something that Mr. Armstrong has been wanting for a long time, and the fact that you've been able to pull that off, kudos to you for that.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Well,
Doctor.
it was more so the work of our business office, Deanna Wheeler, and our finance department. I worked with Fifth Third Bank, our primary bank in relationship, and sought out different options, and we came up with what we think is probably the best solution for CATRAC. So I think it'll be great going forward. Thank you.
And Dr. Kidser.
Thank you. Just one item this evening. 2 weeks ago, you approved the hire of Adva Ringel, who is our new supervisor of ESL. And at that time, we said that she would begin with us no later than February 25th. Well, she started with us on Tuesday. So Dr. Weber and I spent the better part of the morning with her on Tuesday touring the district and helping her get acclimated, and she has hit the ground running. So we were able to get her on board just a few days early.
Great. Fantastic. That's good news. And Dr. Weber.
I'd like to thank Linda Chinfera, who is not only the leader of our summer school program, but also our career prep. She arranged, after 2 snow days and awful luck, to have Eric Hipple come and speak to our students in the program, and brought his book, Real Men Do Cry. Eric Hipple was a patient at the U of M Depression Center, and really helped to tell a compelling story about not only the science behind depression and anxiety, but the emotional aspects of it and the toll on his own family and so on. So thank you to Eric Hipple, and especially to Ms. Chinfera, who is a total K-12 community school district. We emphasize aspects of mental health and well-being. To see that our administrators across the district not only get it, listen to it, but make an effort to educate every person we serve is fantastic. So thank you to her, and thank you to him.
Fantastic. All right. Next are our committee reports. I do not believe we have any.
We had a governance committee meeting.
Was that not before the next? Oh, we did. It was right after it. Yes, I apologize. We did. We had a governance and policy committee meeting where we reviewed a document. It will actually be coming to the full board for some discussion, most likely at our next meeting, where we took a look at our board operating procedures and how they tie in with where our policy is at, and did some restructuring and talked a little bit about that. So that will come back to us. I believe we had something else on our agenda that evening too. Would you like to refresh my memory?
Oh, see, I thought you were going to go on board books and bring it up here.
Well, I should have. I apologize. It was so long ago because it was right after the last
here,
meeting.
So
I got it.
We did discuss.
Yeah, so our operating procedures, and then some policy and updates and revisions from Lusk Albertson, and then we briefly discussed our code of ethics, which I think will come back before the whole board for some discussion about whether or not we remove that from policy and put it back into
Board
operating procedures. Thank you. So look for that at the next meeting. We didn't feel that it was timing was good for this meeting. Finance committee has not met, legislative and merit pay. So we'll look for those in the future. Next, we have board communication. First opportunity for board communication. Mrs. Hood?
Yeah, I attended my my first. I'm sorry?
I said first opportunity. It's really the only opportunity, but go ahead.
I will take it.
Yes, go ahead.
I attended my first government relations committee meeting at Oakland Schools. So we did operational stuff, chose our chair, and got some feedback from the legislative liaisons. So there isn't much going on right now. Legislature is kind of getting itself organized, setting up committees, and waiting for Governor Whitmer's budget to come back. And one of the topics that they did bring up was Professor Arson's report that Mrs. Minnick mentioned, the Michigan School Finance at the Crossroads report. And people have probably read, there are a few takeaways, and a title of many of the articles about that report is Michigan ranks dead last in nation in school funding growth for the last 25 years. So it's a significant, huge topic, and we'll be reviewing that more as, really more information comes out. Now, I did ask Dr. Matthews if, one of the nice things at the meeting, sorry, a little segue here, one of the nice things at that meeting, so the other members of the meeting were talking about, other members of the committee were talking about this report, and I had the good fortune to have sat through our meeting that morning with Professor Arson. So we were able to talk about it, and one of the real funding issues is our special education funding. And Representative Stevens had a representative at the meeting that morning and asked, if there's one thing we could do at the federal level, what would that be? And Professor Arson said, restore funding for special education. So, one thing, so Representative Stevens took that back, so we'll see on that. I asked Dr. Matthews if we could post at least the executive summary of the report. The report is 83 pages. The executive summary, for anyone who is interested in kind of getting their arms around the issues, is 8 pages. And if we can put that on the website, that would be a nice thing for parents or anyone who's interested to kind of get acquainted with some of the issues.
We will make that happen.
Yeah. And I had one other thing. I did stop by the cheerleading tournament at the high school this weekend. So I have spent lots of time at wrestling tournaments and baseball tournaments, and nobody sings and holds hands and hugs at those tournaments. So it was so fun.
Yes.
I've never been to a cheerleading tournament. It was so fun. Great tournament. I don't know if you were there, Mrs. Roney, but you've been to many.
Town.
Okay, but I had never been to one before, and we did a great job. So thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you. Other board members?
I have a couple quick things.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith.
First of all, it's great to hear about the cheerleading tournament. The money that we spent on those mirrors went to good use. You guys didn't review the purchasing card report. I want to remind everybody that the Novi Educational Foundation has its Green Gala on March 23rd, 3/23, and I encourage everyone in the room to attend if possible. I know Dr. Ruskin already has purchased her table and has started to invite some teachers, so I encourage all of you as my peers to join me on 3/23 at the NEF Green Gala.
Okay. Okay, great. I thought you said a couple things, so I was waiting for number 2. Okay. Oh, the other was the mirrors. Okay, thank you. Other board?
I did not.
Okay. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
So I had the opportunity to attend the MASB joint meeting. It was a great meeting. I attended some sessions on team building, building relationships with administration and your board, which was fantastic. Cyber safety, and received the legislative update from the MASB lobbyist, which was very interesting and good news, bad news, so we'll just see how things move along. Secondly, I was able to go to Orchard Hills Leadership Day last Friday, which was such a nice event, 2 hours spent with the kids, going into classrooms, and it's such a wonderful community school that we have over there. We have some really fantastic teachers. The students were really proud of their leadership skills and showing off their school, so that was really fantastic. And I attended the tea with Mr. Baker to hear what was going on at the middle school, and that's always interesting. And he brings articles for us to read, and he says he has more for us, but he's just not sure if we're ready yet. But he always brings articles for us parents to think about what we would do in certain situations, so it's very interesting.
Lifelong learners.
Yes.
Fantastic. Mr. Cook.
The reason I was late, I was at the Parkview Science Fair, or what they're calling nowadays is the Invention Convention.
Nice.
There were 50-some groups of kids that presented inventions from first to fourth. The 3rd and 4th graders will be competing next Thursday at Parkview on a judged event. So if you show up, you might get tagged to judge.
Okay.
Hey,
That's
it's
fair
fun.
warning. Thank you.
It's fair warning, but no, there's a lot of creative ideas as far as shoe shovels, dog pillow.
Shoe shovels. I know.
Dog pillow that will feed the dogs. A hands-free mirror for kids to floss with, you know, a number of things. So, and that was just the one session that I was at.
Wow.
So there were 8 sessions with, you know, 7 groups of kids in each session. So.
Very cool.
So, but next Thursday is the competition for those kids, and then if they qualify, they will go to regionals, and if they qualify from there, they will go to states at the Henry Ford. So,
Great. Very fun. Other board members, Ms. Swarning?
Last night I got to enjoy some wonderful pizza at Tony Sacco's. The Novi Athletic Boosters had a fundraiser there. Actually, it was all day, so that was great, and I always love going there. And they're such a good community partner with our schools. Also, Kathy Crawford, Representative Kathy Crawford, did bring up our incubator program and her little education committee session, so that was wonderful. So kudos to us. So that's about it.
Great. Mr. Mena?
You know, we're pretty fortunate here that we have an athletic department that hosts a whole lot of events. I mean, we host a ton of events, and certainly there are a lot of folks from outside the district that really get to see some of the great things that are happening here at Novi. As a result, today we hosted a Project Unified basketball tournament. I know many of you were there today. There were 10 teams from around the KLA district competing. It's probably still going on as we speak.
Championship game was 8:15 start, so I think you're right. They're still there.
And,
Still time to go.
and it's just an absolute, if you haven't had an opportunity to see one of these events, it's one of the most fantastic events that you'll ever see. It's just great. The other thing I want to mention is the boys basketball team start playoffs next Monday, and we play the folks down the street on Monday, so expect a huge crowd Monday night at the Performance Gym. So that's the beginning of boys basketball playoffs. The girls will start their playoffs, which is also hosted at Novi, I should mention, no surprise. The following week, I think that would be March 6th, we start hosting districts for the girls, and this coming week we host district for boys.
Great. So we'll probably see some of you out. I'll be brief. Okay, so try to be brief. School law and finance seminar. I went to that a while ago. I brought back a big binder of information. I think there's a downloadable version. It's too big for resource books or whatever, but Sheila has the downloadable version, and so does Jill. It was like being fed with a fire hose. It was a lot of information from a lot of different people about a lot of different things. I did put a list of questions together for Dr. Matthews. He's probably really glad I went. Also went to CBA 276 Board Superintendent Relations, and also went to one on assessment, which was done by the superintendent in Huron Valley Schools, new superintendent in Huron Valley Schools, who did an excellent job describing assessments, what they do, what they don't do, and really putting in layman's terms. So it was fantastic. So I'll get that information to Sheila to do that. And it was great to see my colleagues, Kathy and Danielle at the MASA, MASB. They did a joint conference this year, which I think was a really great kind of perspective. It got a lot of people down there kind of together having discussions that I thought it was a really neat way to do it. And it was nice that it was local. So that was really great. So again, more questions. I think I had a page and a half of questions that I submitted to Dr. Matthews. Just about different things that came up and different ideas. Also got some different ideas about the whole how you follow up from strategic planning and what that looks like for a board. So I'll be sharing that in some notes, and obviously down the road as we pursue that. So that is that. I also had the opportunity to attend the Eric Hipple event, which was fantastic. I will say that our students, those adult ed or alternative ed students, were very, very engaged and really interested in hearing what he had to say. And he talked really fast, but he has a really compelling story. And my husband had met him and had him speak before and had told me the story, but I forgot parts of it. So it was hard to be in that room and not feel some pain and also the hope, which I think was really neat for our students to see a man and he showed some clips of him playing football, which of course it was mostly guys. There were a couple of girls, but they were very into that. that was a great event, and so was the discussion that our superintendents held at the Novi Library. It was neat to see somebody out there for that too. So that ends board communication. Unless there's anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
It's been moved by Ms. Oh, we are going to move into a work session. I will just say that real quick before. So we will close that part of the meeting out. It will not be televised, but we will be audio recording it. I've got a motion to adjourn. I would appreciate support.
Like an auctioneer. I support.
It's been supported by Mrs. Hood. A roll call vote. Mr. Mena?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Hood?
Yes.
Trustee Mena? Yes. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Roney?
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. It's 8:36. Is 4 minutes enough time to grab a little bit of food and go to the restroom? And we will meet back at 8:40 promptly. And we will stay around this table just because of the...
And I want to thank these boys for hanging in here all night.
Yes.